Previous video, we learned about commits, save points, and rollbacks and how to use them inside of a database. Going forward in this video, what we're going to be learning about are database constraints. Database constraints are used to control information, and they are part of the schema definition. So it is actually what defines what can and cannot be inserted into a table or inside of a column. Now, these constraints are not only used at a column or table level, but they can be across an entire database on multiple tables. So let's go ahead and get into our MySQL server. Just logging in as our root user. And we're going to use the database that we've been using the entire course, Creative Online School. And we're going to see the tables that are in here. So we have 3 tables. We're going to be altering the cats table today. So we're going to look at the columns inside of the cats table. And we have 2 columns, the ID and name, and they are defined as an int and varchar, so we must have a type. And then everything out here is just extra stuff that we can define. We can define whether it can be null, we can give it a key that defines what can be added or how the actual column behaves, and then a default value, and also an extra. For this extra we have auto increment, which is always used the primary key is always going to be associated with auto increment. So if you define a column as auto increment, it will automatically be the primary key because you can only have one auto increment inside of an entire table. So let's go ahead and start looking at constraints. The first constraint that we're going to look at is not null. As it suggests, not null means that you cannot make anything inside of the column null. So we're going to just add a row column here called age and set it as an integer. And if we select star from cats, we can see that it is currently null. So what we want to do is modify it, the column, so that age cannot be null and not null. However, we have an invalid use of null because we're trying to say that it is not null when it already has null values. So what we need to do is update cats set age to, let's just say, 0. There we go. We rerun and there we go. We have now age is 0 and everything, and we can see from our definition that it can no longer be null. Next, what we're going to have is unique. Unique means that anything in that column cannot be a duplicate. So right now we do not have it as unique. As you can see, we have 0 and 1, 0, excuse me. So what we're going to do is alter table cats, add unique, and the column that we want to add it on. However, we can't because we have a duplicate entry for 0. So we just need to update our table. So we're going to set age to 1, where ID equals 1. Now we're going to add our constraint. There we go. Now we can see that this constraint is added because we have this key uni on the age constraint. The next type of constraint that we're going to look at are what are known as primary keys. What primary keys are is how everything is referenced inside of a table. So primary keys must be unique for each individual row. That's why we usually have this ID field inside of a table, because it lets us reference each individual row and know that we are referencing each specific row. So what we're actually going to do is first take away this auto increment function so that we can drop this primary key. So we're just going to alter table cats, modify ID to be not null and not have it auto increment. Excuse me, 2 L's for null. And it also needs to be an int. Excuse me. There we go. So now we can see that it cannot be auto increment. We're just going to drop the primary key now, alter table cats, drop primary key. Show columns from cats. So we can see here that we dropped the primary key, but it automatically went to age. This is because age is already defined as being unique, so we know that there's not going to be any duplicates and is the next best runner up for a primary key. The way that you add a primary key is you just alter table cats, modify column ID to be int, not null, add back the auto increment, and say that it's the primary key. There we go, and we can see that our primary key has gone back, and we did not lose our unique from the age. Next, what we're going to have is the foreign key. And what foreign keys do is they reference other tables inside of your table. So we're going to add another row called the owner ID, and we'll just define it as an int for now. And what we're going to do is alter table cats, add constraint f key owner ID cats, and this is just going to be the name of the foreign key that we're adding. So you can have multiple foreign keys if it needs to reference multiple tables, and we just tell it which row inside of this table is going to be the foreign key and then where it references to. So we have the table and then the ID. There we go. And now if we show columns from cats, we can see that we now have this mul as a key, which means that it is a foreign key. What you can do with foreign keys is you can select specific individuals inside of other tables from an outside table. So let's just set a value inside of cats to be 1 to reference the first ID in the owners table. So update cats set owner ID equal to 1 where ID equals 1. There we go. Now we can select star from cats, join owners, select star from chat, join owners on cats dot owner ID equal to owners.id. And here we go, we can see everything that we selected from the cats and everything that we selected from the owners table. So this is just a simple way to reference other tables. The last constraint that we have is known as a check constraint. So in SQL, you can add check constraints, just how we've added the unique constraint. You just alter table cats, add check age is greater than 20. So we're just checking to see if age is greater than 20. But we can still update cats age, set age to 23 where ID equals 1. And you see it doesn't give us any warning at all, even though we updated it. And we can see that it doesn't do this. So in MySQL, what it does is it actually puts in the constraint, but it does not parse the constraint. So what we have to do is actually add a trigger. So let's just go ahead and do that to add a trigger to update. So create trigger check age on update. This is just going to be the name, and before we update, so when we're going to do it, and then what table we're going to do it on. And for each row, excuse me, I spelled that wrong. Let me start over here. For each row, again, if new.age is greater than 20, then we want to signal set state, we're going to make an error out of this, 4004500, and then we're going to set a message text, age must be under 20, and if end limiter excuse me, I said this wrong. It needs to be SQL state and not set state. So let me just change my delimiter back, and we'll just go through this very quickly. Typos are honestly the worst, especially when you're coding inside of the terminal. So this right here, it just needs to be SQL state, not set state. So we'll just get that done. Then we'll set the message, and then here I can just type the rest, and if, and here we go. There we go. Delimiter, back to this, and now we try to update chats. Set age to 23, where ID equals 2, and there we go, we get our error. I hope that this video has been helpful for you on learning about database constraints. In the next video, we're going to be learning about entity relationship diagrams and how to use them. Again, my name is David Baker, and this video is brought to you by CreativeOnlineSchool.com.